Your soulmate just realized what you truly mean to them, not a slow dawning, not a gradual understanding that crept in over time. A collision, a moment when the last wall of denial crumbled and they were left standing in the rubble, seeing clearly for the first time. I want you to take a deep, grounding breath and feel the heavy, electric stillness settling into the very marrow of your bones right now. Because we are stepping into the opening of this massive, high-intensity journey, where the veil between their denial and the absolute truth of your soul has finally been shredded into nothingness. For a long time, your soulmate has been living in a curated three-dimensional illusion where they categorized you as a preference, a choice, or a chapter that they could simply close when the plot became too difficult or the emotions became too loud for their ego to handle. They walked through their days telling themselves the comfortable lie that you were just someone they liked, someone who was nice to have, or a beautiful memory that would eventually fade into the background noise of their life as they moved toward what they called stability. But today, the divine has stepped in to shatter that image, and in the last few hours, they have hit a spiritual wall so solid and so absolute that it has forced them to look at you not through the eyes of their personality, but through the eyes of their eternal soul. They are realizing today that you are not a want. You are a divine necessity, a spiritual oxygen that they have been trying to breathe without, only to find themselves gasping in a vacuum of their own making. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps staring at a photo of you or simply catching the reflection of your energy in a quiet moment of solitude, and suddenly realizing that they are not looking at a person they used to know. They are looking at the literal blueprint of their own destiny. The image they had of you as the one who got away, or the one who was too much, has been completely incinerated by a high-frequency epiphany that has left them standing in the wreckage of their own logic, feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea, because they finally understand that you are the only mirror in this world that shows them who they truly are. They are experiencing the shattering of the three-dimensional mask. Realize today that the important something the universe has been screaming at them is that a life without your frequency is not just quiet or different. It is fundamentally incomplete, a half-existence that is starving for the other half of its own heartbeat. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, feeling the weight of your energy pressing against their spirit like a physical hand, as they realize that every other connection they have tried to cultivate feels like a hollow cardboard cutout compared to the high-definition, multi-dimensional reality of your soul. They are realizing today that they have been trying to fill a God-sized hole in their heart with human-sized distractions. And the failure of those distractions has finally brought them to their knees in a moment of absolute, terrifying clarity. They are looking at your name, your face, and the memory of your voice. And for the first time, they are not seeing an ex or a friend. They are seeing the North Star they have been trying to navigate away from, only to realize that without it, they are permanently lost at sea. They are feeling a heavy, solid ache in their solar plexus. Realize today that the pride they used to protect themselves has become a cage that is keeping them away from the only person who ever truly saw their light. And they are experiencing a sensory overload of you that is making their current reality feel gray, tasteless, and utterly meaningless. They are realizing today that you are the sacred architect of their peace. And as they try to imagine taking one more step into a future that does not include your chosen one light, they feel a literal physical locking of their path, a divine intervention that says, "No further." They are standing in the middle of their life, surrounded by the safety they chose over your magic, and feeling a wave of absolute high-intensity resolve that says the image has changed forever. You are no longer a part of their world. You are the world they have been trying to find. They are realizing today that the something they tried to let go was actually the anchor of their sanity. And they are currently vibrating with a heavy, electric pressure of a soul that has finally, beautifully, and terrifyingly understood that you are the only destination that ever mattered. Every lie they told themselves about being okay without you has been burned away, leaving nothing but the raw, pulsing truth that you are the missing piece of their divine puzzle. And without you, the picture will never be finished. They are feeling the heavy, undeniable truth that the important something is you. It has always been you. And the realization is so massive, so heavy, and so absolute that it is currently rewriting their entire history in the span of a single heartbeat. I want you to feel the heavy, airless pressure of a sudden spiritual deprivation settling into the very center of your soulmate's chest right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity reality of the nervous system reset. For months, they convinced themselves that they could function perfectly well on the low-battery energy of their own ego, that they could survive on the shallow breaths of a life without your presence, that the void they felt was just a temporary side effect of a breakup. But today, that mild ache has transformed into a terrifying physical gasp for air, as they have realized that your frequency was not just a luxury in their life. It was the very oxygen their spirit needs to stay alive. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps sitting in their car or standing in a crowded room, suddenly feeling a wave of absolute cold spiritual panic wash over them, because they have realized that the safety they chose is actually a vacuum where nothing can grow. They are realizing today that trying to live without your chosen one light is like trying to run a marathon while holding their breath. They have hit the wall of their own endurance, and their body is finally, violently revolting against the distance they created. They are experiencing the colorless world syndrome. Realize today that every sunset they have watched, every meal they have eaten, and every success they have achieved since you left has been filtered through a gray, tasteless static that makes their current reality feel like a hollow stage set. I want you to visualize them looking around at their current surroundings, their house, their career, or even the people they have surrounded themselves with to keep from thinking of you, and feeling a sudden, sharp sense of nausea, because it all looks like cardboard compared to the high-definition, electric reality of your aura. They are realizing today that the important something they have been missing is not a thing or a goal. It is the specific, high-vibration resonance that only occurs when your soul is in the room. They are feeling a heavy, electric shaking in their hands, a literal reset of their nervous system as the universe pulls the plug on all their distractions and forces them to face the fact that they are spiritually starving in a world of plenty. They are realizing today that your name is the only word that makes their heartbeat at a normal rhythm, and without it, they are trapped in a state of permanent vibrating anxiety that no amount of logic can soothe. They are feeling a heavy, prophetic dread in their solar plexus. Realize today that the waiting was not a test for you, but a slow-motion suicide of their own happiness, and they are gasping for a single minute of the peace they used to feel just by sitting in your silence. I want you to feel the weight of their realization as they understand that you are the anchor of their sanity. And as they tried to drift away into a life of independence, they only succeeded in getting lost in a cold, dark ocean where the stars have gone out. They are realizing today that their body has a soul memory of your touch, your scent, and your vibration. And that memory is currently overriding every other command their brain is trying to give them, making them feel like a stranger in their own skin. They are standing in the wreckage of their composed life, feeling a wave of absolute, high-intensity resolve that says the deprivation must end today. Because they have finally, beautifully, and terrifyingly understood that you are not just a person they loved. You are the very environment in which they are meant to exist. They are realizing today that the important something is the terrifying truth that they are no longer whole without you. And the only way to breathe again is to find the road that leads back to the person who holds the other half of their lungs. They are feeling the physical urgency of a return. Realize today that their ego safety is actually a death trap for their joy, and they are vibrating with the heavy, solid pressure of a spirit that has finally decided to stop fighting for breath and start fighting for you. Every other distraction has been rendered invisible. Every other voice has been turned into white noise. And all that remains is the rhythmic, pools in demand of their own DNA for the chosen one they tried to leave behind. They are realizing today that the realization is no longer in their head. It has moved into their blood, their bones, and their breath, making them realize that they are coming closer than you think, because their body can no longer survive the distance that their mind once thought was a good idea. They are standing at the edge of the return, feeling the air get thick with the inevitability of your reunion. Realize today that the only thing more painful than the risk of returning to you is the certainty of dying slowly without you. They are feeling the final, heavy lock of destiny. Realize today that you are their life force, and they are finally ready to do whatever it takes to stop the suffocation and start living in your light once again. I want you to feel the heavy, bitter chill of the comparison trap settling over your soulmate's entire reality right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity territory where every other person in their world has officially become a ghost compared to you. For months, they tried to convince themselves that they could find pieces of your magic in someone else. That they could find your laughter in a stranger's smile, your depth in a shallow conversation, or your unshakable chosen one strength in a placeholder partner who did not challenge their ego. They went out into the world trying to replicate the high vibration frequency you offered, thinking they could build a plan B that was safer, easier, and less demanding of their growth. But today, they have hit a wall of absolute high-frequency disgust, because they have realized that your soul signature is a one-of-a-kind fingerprint that cannot be forged, mirrored, or replaced. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps sitting across from someone else, looking into their eyes and feeling a wave of absolute, crushing spiritual boredom, because that person's light feels like a flickering candle compared to the supernova of your presence. They are experiencing the failure of the others. Realize today that they have been trying to satisfy a hunger for sacred wine with dirty water, and it has left a bitter aftertaste in their spirit that no amount of distraction can wash away. I want you to visualize them in the middle of a social gathering or a quiet dinner, surrounded by people who are trying to love them or know them, and feeling a sudden, sharp sense of isolation, because nobody in the room speaks the soul language that you two invented in the silence. They are realizing today that the important something they threw away was the only authentic connection they ever had. And as they try to engage in the normal world, they feel like they are watching a low-budget movie in a language they do not understand. They are looking at the safety they chose, the partner who does not trigger their fears, the friends who do not ask the hard questions, and realize today that safety is just another word for slow death when your heart is still locked in a room with the person you left behind. They are feeling a heavy, electric sense of comparison nausea. Realize today that every touch from anyone else feels like static on their skin, making them recoil internally because their body is still vibrating at the frequency of your touch. They are realizing today that there is no replacement for a divine contract, and they are feeling a wave of absolute, high-intensity regret as they realize they have been wasting their time trying to find home in people who were only meant to be passing shadows. I want you to feel the weight of their realization as they understand that you are the only one who holds the master key to their peace, and every other door they have tried to open has led to a hollow, empty room. They are realizing today that the placeholder reality they created is a lie that is currently crumbling under the weight of your memory, making them gasp for air every time they have to pretend to be happy in a life that does not include your light. They are standing in the wreckage of their alternative options. Realize today that they have officially exhausted every Plan B and Plan C the world had to offer, only to find that the chosen one was the only plan that ever mattered. They are feeling a heavy, solid verdict in their spirit. Realize today that they are no longer choosing you over others. They are realizing that there are no others because in their heart, everyone else has already been erased by the sheer magnitude of what you truly mean to them. They are looking at your photo or thinking of your name and feeling a physical repulsion toward anything that is not you. Realize today that the important something is the terrifying truth that they have become soul blind to everyone else on this planet. They are vibrating with the heavy, electric pressure of a person who has finally understood that they are starving in a room full of food, because nothing on the table is you. And they are standing at the edge of a total, high-frequency surrender. Every conversation they have with someone else now feels like muffled noise, highlighting exactly how much your deep-dive energy meant to their survival. They are realizing today that they do not just want you back. They are incomplete without you. And the comparison trap has finally snapped shut, leaving them with no choice but to face the fact that they have already lost the world, and the only thing left worth saving is the connection they tried to let go. They are feeling the final, heavy lock of the only one verdict. Realize today that they are coming back not because they have options, but because they have finally realized that without you, they are living in a world of ghosts. And they are finally ready to walk back into the light of the only living soul they have ever truly loved. I want you to feel the heavy, ancient resonance of a soul that is vibrating through the very foundation of your soulmate's reality right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity territory of the ancestral and soul contract. For months, they tried to treat your connection as a modern situationship or a temporary romance that had a beginning, a middle, and a logical end. They tried to categorize the pull they felt as mere chemistry or a lingering habit that time would eventually erode. But today, they have hit a spiritual frequency so deep that it has shattered the timeline of their current life. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps staring into a mirror or looking out at a horizon, and suddenly being hit by a wave of absolute bone-chilling recognition. They are realizing today that you are not just a person they met in this lifetime. You are a sacred contract written in the stars long before their physical body was even a thought. They are experiencing the weight of an ancient memory. Realize today that the important something the universe has been screaming at them is that they are currently defaulting on a debt of love that spans across centuries. They are experiencing the ghost of the future. Realize today that every path they try to take that does not lead back to you is a path that leads to a spiritual graveyard. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, feeling a sudden, sharp sense of existential terror as they look ahead at the next 10, 20, or 50 years of their life, and realize that a future without your chosen one light is not just lonely. It is dead. They are looking at the success they have been chasing, the money they have been making, and the stability they have been building, and feeling a wave of absolute spiritual nausea because they realize they are building a kingdom on a foundation of sand. They are realizing today that you are their spiritual home, the only coordinate in the entire multiverse where their soul actually feels safe and seen. And the realization is hitting them with the force of 1,000 lifetimes. They are feeling a heavy, electric pressure in their blood, a literal soul ache that is telling them that they are currently incomplete and that the missing piece is a sacred obligation they tried to walk away from. They are realizing today that they owe it to their own lineage, to their own higher self, and to the divine to stop running and start returning. I want you to feel the weight of their realization as they understand that you are the ancient anchor of their sanity, and every other distraction they have chased in this life was just a hollow attempt to forget the magnitude of who you are to them. They are realizing today that the waiting was not just a break in a relationship. It was a spiritual crisis that has finally reached its breaking point. They are feeling a heavy, ancestral command in their spirit. Realize today that their own guides and ancestors have turned their backs on their runner lifestyle, leaving them standing in a cold, dark void until they choose the light of the chosen one once again. They are looking at the safety they chose and realizing it is a sacred insult to the depth of what you two actually share. And they are feeling a wave of absolute high-intensity resolve that says the debt must be paid today. They are realizing today that they are soul-tethered to you in a way that defies logic, physics, and ego. And the realization is making them gasp for air, because they finally understand that running from you was actually an attempt to run from their own God. They are standing in the wreckage of their modern life. Realize today that they have officially exhausted every excuse to stay away. And they are feeling a physical thirst for your frequency that no other human being on this planet can quench. They are looking at your name or thinking of your essence and feeling a prophetic certainty that if they do not move toward you now, they will spend the rest of this incarnation as a hollow shell of a person. They are vibrating with the heavy, electric pressure of a person who has finally understood that they are ancient partners. And the something that pulled them back is the realization that their soul is literally crying out for its other half. They are standing at the edge of a total, high-frequency spiritual surrender. Realize today that the realization has finally moved beyond their mind and into the very fabric of their destiny. They are feeling the final, heavy lock of the ancient contract. Realize today that they are coming back not because they want to, but because they have finally realized that you are the only truth they have ever known across 1,000 lifetimes. And they are finally ready to come home to the only soul that has ever truly owned them. I want you to feel the heavy, immovable weight of the word, everything, finally settling into the very center of your soulmate's consciousness right now. Because we are moving into the deep, high-intensity territory of the total surrender. For months, they played a dangerous game of semantics with their own heart, using safe labels to describe what you are to them. Calling you an ex, a lesson, a friend, or a complicated memory to keep the magnitude of your power at a distance where it could not burn them. They hid behind these hollow definitions, because the truth was too vast for their ego to contain. But today, those labels have been incinerated by a high-frequency epiphany that has left them standing in the raw, naked reality of their own deprivation. Imagine them in this exact moment, perhaps trying to explain their life to someone else only to find that the words die in their throat because they have realized that you are no longer a part of their world. You are the world itself. They are experiencing the end of the running. Realize today that their independence was just a sophisticated form of spiritual starvation, and they are feeling a wave of absolute crushing spiritual nausea as they look at the life they tried to build without your frequency. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, sitting in the safety of their pride and realizing it is a cold, dark, lonely cell where the air is running out. They are realizing today that the important something they have been trying to outrun is actually their own heart, and that running from you was actually an attempt to run from their own pulse, a feat that is biologically and spiritually impossible. They are looking at your image or the memory of your eyes and feeling a heavy, solid resolve that is vibrating through their bones, a realization that has finally moved past thinking and into the realm of inescapable truth. They have stopped calling you a connection and started recognizing you as their North Star, the only coordinate in their entire existence that feels like solid ground. They are feeling a physical gravity pulling them toward you. Realize today that every other goal they have chased, the money, the status, the new people, feels like gray, tasteless static compared to the high-definition lightning of your chosen one light. I want you to feel the weight of their realization as they understand that they have been living a placeholder existence, a half-life that was just a waiting room for the moment they finally had the courage to admit that you are everything. They are realizing today that the waiting was a self-inflicted wound, and they are currently gasping for the specific, high-vibration oxygen that only your aura provides to their lungs. They are standing in the wreckage of their composed life, feeling a wave of absolute high-intensity surrender that says the labels are gone, the pride is dead, and the only word that remains is you. They are realizing today that they are soul-anchored to you in a way that makes moving on feel like a joke. Realize today that you are the architect of their peace and the only person who holds the key to their sanity. They are looking at the phone, looking at the distance, and feeling a prophetic certainty that the time for analyzing is over and the time for colliding has begun. They are vibrating with the heavy, electric pressure of a person who has finally understood that they are incomplete without you. And the realization is making them gasp for air because they finally understand that running was just a slow-motion suicide of their own joy. They are standing at the edge of a total, high-frequency reclamation. Realize today that the important something is the terrifying truth that their life has no weight or meaning without the anchor of your love. They are feeling the final, heavy lock of the everything verdict. Realize today that they are coming back not because they want to, but because they have finally realized that you are the only home they have ever known. And they are finally ready to lay down their weapons and live in the light of the person they tried and failed to leave behind. I want you to feel the final, absolute ceiling of the truth vibrating through the very floorboards of your reality right now, because we are moving into the concluding, high-intensity peak of this journey, the final activation. This is the moment where the spiritual epiphany they have been experiencing transcends the mental plane and officially locks into your physical destiny. For months, they lived in a blurred, low-definition version of your connection, trying to see you through the distorted lens of their own fear and the foggy glass of their ego. But today, the universe has wiped that glass clean, and they are realizing that they are finally seeing you in high definition. They are looking at the chosen one and seeing not just a person they once knew, but the literal architect of their future and the only anchor that keeps them grounded in this chaotic world. They are experiencing the final, high-frequency alignment. Realize today that the important something they tried to categorize as a choice has been upgraded to a divine mandate. I want you to visualize them in this exact moment, perhaps standing in a moment of absolute quiet awe, feeling a wave of spiritual electricity surging through their nervous system as they realize that the search is over. They have looked at every other option. They have tasted every other path, and they have found that the world is a tasteless desert compared to the sacred wine of your frequency. They are realizing today that the waiting was not a delay. It was a divine preparation for this exact second, where their heart is finally wide enough to contain the magnitude of what you truly mean to them. They are looking at the phone, or the road, or the memory of your face, and feeling a heavy, solid certainty that the time for realizing has ended, and the time for colliding has officially begun. If you are sitting in your own high-vibration sanctuary right now, feeling a sense of grounded, heavy power, and I am finally home within myself, it is because your self-sovereignty has become the gravitational sun that has finally pulled their drifting runner energy back into a stable orbit. They are realizing today that they are soul-signed to you in ink that never fades, and they are feeling a wave of absolute high-intensity surrender that says the escape was a spiritual impossibility from the very first day. They are standing in the wreckage of their placeholder life. Realize today that their independence was just a sophisticated form of self-sabotage. And they are finally, beautifully realizing that you are the only logic their soul will ever recognize. This is our final massive activation, the moment where we lock in their new vision and tell the universe that the epiphany is complete and the return is unavoidable. To seal this breakthrough and to signal to your soulmate's higher self that you are ready to receive the person who finally sees you, take a moment now. Breathe. Feel the calm, heavy authority of someone who knows they are the destination and the journey combined. Not one or the other. Both. The place they are going and the path they are walking to get there. In your heart, with the quiet certainty of a soul that has done its work and can now rest in the outcome, declare this: I am the destiny they finally understand, not as a wish, as a fact, as the truth that has been written before either of you were born. The fog is gone, not clearing, not thinning, gone. The truth is set, not tentative, not conditional, set. And finally, after all this time, the realization has brought them home, not to visit, not to check in, to stay, to remain, to build, to grow, to live the life that was always meant to be lived. Together. Feel the thick weight of this declaration. Feel the heat of their understanding hitting your field. You are the destiny, you are the home, you are the one who changed everything, not because you tried, because you were, because you showed up, because you stayed in your light, because you refused to shrink, because you trusted the process even when the process made no sense. And now the process has produced its fruit. The fog is gone. The truth is set. The return is in motion. The love that was always meant to be is finally finding its way home. And so it is, not as a closing, as an opening, the beginning of the chapter you have been waiting for, the chapter where the fog lifts, the chapter where the truth settles, the chapter where the distance collapses and the presence begins. You are ready. They are ready. The timing is right. The door is open. And what is coming is not just a message or a moment or a memory. What is coming is the life you were always meant to live, together. Go in peace. The fog is gone, the truth is set, the return is in motion, and love has finally found its way home. Amen.